What's up, guys? It's G here, and welcome back to the Grizzly Life podcast. In this episode, Colton and Chase talk about how the hiring process at Grizzly Fitness and Priority Fitness works, what we look for, what matters most, and how we find people who fit. They also dive into some of the company core values. New episodes drop every Tuesday and Thursday, so make sure to subscribe, follow, and turn on notifications. Let's get into episode 14 of the Grizzly Life podcast.
We're live. We're good.
Yeah, we're going.
Podcast is hot. Good. It's good. I'm happy we're live, Garrett. It's good.
You're really happy on a Friday morning, aren't you, compared to a Sunday afternoon?
It is a good Friday, you know? Got a good workout this morning?
Yeah. I'm not really a forearms type of guy. Like, I don't necessarily do like wrist curls or like the wrist flexion or reverse curls or anything, but God, my arms hurt.
How'd you
Like
like
between the biceps and everything too, but
it was good?
wasn't bad. I had to hit back, so to get the volume in was really good.
Yeah. I've been trying to do like Friday. It's just kind of been landing that way. Like Friday's like my, in quotations, weak point day. So I've just been screwing around, doing a little bit of forearms. I usually do like some calves too, like some smaller muscle groups that I feel like you can kind of overtrain in a sense. But
Yeah, I mean, they just have you can do high volumes on like your arms and your calves and a lot of like the slower twitch stuff too, though.
yeah. How'd you like working out over in Princeton this morning?
I like a lot of the unique chrome stuff. The universal pieces are really nice, and I do actually really like the grip strength trainer in Princeton compared to say like the one in Berlin. But I don't know. That's just your preference at the end of the day. I think if you're training forearms, they're both fine.
Yeah. I'm starting to really like that facility over there. You know, since we converted it from what it was before, the old like hardware store and thrift stop, now into a cool piece of history, really cool gym. The chrome stuff's really awesome.
It feels again more like the one that sat right on Main Street, and you have almost like full collection of just like everything and anything, where you have some of the old stuff, you have some of the hammer strength stuff, and then you still have like some nice circuit or just like general circuit pieces, so you can kind of hit everything you want without being strictly using the chrome or strictly using dumbbells or free weights. So no, it's pretty sweet there.
Yeah, I think it's a cool facility. I think we got 7,000 square feet there. It's still not finished. We still got to do that middle section, which that'll be exciting once we do get the middle section done. We'll have more like stretching area. We'll have more gym floor space area where we can have more equipment, because the little stretch of turf is currently on our like gym floor. But so once that's all done, that'll be a pretty sweet facility. Nothing to complain about there, but yeah. And then we had a good breakfast this morning right away, and now right into a Friday morning podcast, so can't complain.
Different. You're going to have to get used to it.
We are going to try to start doing these podcasts on Fridays versus Sundays and Mondays, just so we're being more proactive about it. So even if we only get one episode done on a Friday, that's okay. If we can get them both done, great. So we'll have to kind of start thinking ahead on what next week's plans are, so we can talk. You know, we're talking kind of future tense now, since it's not Sunday, Monday. It's, I don't know, it's Friday, right? So we just have to kind of look at what the next week holds, so we can kind of talk about that as well during these episodes. But yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. We're on episode 14, maybe?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, G in the producer chair says yeah. We've got G in the producer chair. We've got Chase and myself, Colton, here today. Episode 14 of many. We're going to practice today some more of just having a conversation. Chase and I just looking deep into each other's eyes and trying to feel like we're talking to each other, having a conversation, versus talking to the audience in a sense. I feel like it's kind of a work in progress. It's not always the easiest thing to do. We get behind these mics and we feel like we're trying to talk to, public speaking event versus just having a conversation. And we're going to try to continue working on that like conversation piece. There definitely will be episodes where it's talking to the audience, especially when I'm doing like an episode by myself, more of like a motivational Monday type thing, where it's just like I've got this point to make and we're going to talk about it and get that out there. But just want to let everybody know, we're just going to kind of try to have a good, honest conversation, not a debate, but just move back and forth between topics and points, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. So I believe today on the docket, well, actually, let's talk about what our day actually holds. Chase and I have a little trip going. We have to go to Park Falls again. We just installed a YMCA up in Park Falls 2 weeks ago. One of the treadmills did not make the install due to some issues, so we've got that repaired and ready to go. So today, Chase and I have to run up there, deliver a treadmill, and then we've got a family cabin up there, so we're going to stay up there, hang out, come back Saturday morning. So that's our immediate plans. I know Chase has got a consult this morning. I've got some other office stuff and errands to run this morning as well. But then we are going to take off and head way up to the Northwoods, 3.5 hours north, and do that. So that's kind of what today entails.
I'm excited. It's the first, obviously it's not like a full-blown like 12-hour install, like say the first or some of the Marquette ones I've done recently, but I haven't been able to, like we sold a treadmill last week and I was like, oh yeah, it feels good to just like go to the warehouse and start just dragging around equipment again. But
you don't get to be on the PF side of things a whole lot. We do, for context so everybody understands, Priority Fitness and Grizzly Fitness are two separate companies, but oftentimes Priority Fitness, if needed, will try to pull our Grizzly staff, our Grizzly muscle, to come help on an install. When we built Priority Fitness and Grizzly Fitness kind of separately, we kind of built them together in a way where we would intentionally do that. Gavino, for example, is one of our main gym managers. He oversees a lot of our Grizzly facilities. Gavino was pulled very often to come help on installs and stuff like that. So when we pulled Gavino, we would not have a gym manager necessarily around, or somebody else would have to step up. But that's kind of how we operated for a lot of our time here. As of recent, we've tried to move away from that so Grizzly can continue growing and have the leadership it needs. But so Chase is excited to be on the road today because he doesn't get many opportunities to do that. So that's exciting. I'm excited to move a treadmill with you, Chase. It'll be a great Friday.
I'm taking the motor side alone.
So if this is your first time tuning in, I'll give you a little spiel. If this is your first time tuning in, please go back and listen to episodes 1 through 4. Those episodes are going to give you a good insight into our history, our past, where it all began, how we started, back in 2016 to current, how we've acquired the buildings that we own, how we've acquired the fitness centers that we own, the real estate. Maybe I just said that, but you're going to be able to see exactly how we kind of, without going too crazy in the depth, how we built location 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a location that we closed, that kind of stuff. So it's interesting to see. It's good knowledge to have, especially if you want to have a conversation with me about some endeavor you're doing and that kind of stuff. It's just good to know who you're talking to, type thing. So it's good information. If this is your first time tuning in, my name's Colton Burt. I am 26 years old. I own 6 gyms or fitness centers, 5 of which are Grizzly Fitness. I own those outright. Location number 6 is Grizzly O-Town, formerly O-Town Iron. I am partners at that location with Jacob Colburn. That facility is doing great. We also own 4 properties, 4 pieces of real estate, 3 of which are Grizzly Fitness locations, 1 of which is a property in the same parking lot of one of our Grizzly Fitness locations, and that will have some business going on in it soon. It's just kind of a vacant-ish property right now. We do have 1 tenant in there, but we're just kind of kicking back some ideas on what we want to do with that property. I also own Priority Fitness, which is a fitness equipment repair, service, install company. Basically anything fitness equipment related is what that company does. So we move equipment around existing facilities. We install it residentially, install it commercially. Sometimes we'll buy old stuff, typically only commercial product and that kind of stuff. I also mentioned last episode, if you're looking for a part-time gig, Priority Fitness is hiring. Hit me up. You can hit us up on our email, marketing@fitnessgrizzly.com. If you're looking for some part-time stuff, you've got school until noon and you want to do some afternoons, you're not busy on Fridays because it works around your schedule, whatever it is, like we can maybe work something out with you. We're also looking for potentially some more fitness coaches and that kind of stuff, just looking for good people to join the team. So keep that in mind. I won't go too crazy on that, but fitness coach, Priority Fitness, technician, installer, warehouse guy, just looking for good people on the team. So with that, we're going to get into what we're talking about today, which is going to be a little bit about our team and how we operate, how we hire, our interviewing process and that kind of stuff. I believe is kind of what we're going to talk about. So I will let Chase ask the questions, but we're going to dive a little bit into some business stuff.
So recently, or at least I'd say probably within the last year here, if you're looking at really how the staff's composed, like say middle managers, like Ellie does a lot of it's almost not fair to say project management because she just has her hand in so many things. And she works with a lot of the contractors. Gavino works a lot with general staff, say the front desk, and then myself with the coaches. That, generally speaking, is kind of like a blanket coverage of everyone we have on staff. Then obviously there's yourself at the top who connects with us and staff at both levels. But in the recent year, I'd say, or even within the last few months, since the team's really started to expand, I'd say, it's delegated a lot out now to where, like you said, Gavino works a lot with the general staff. And if we're hiring on someone for Watoma or Berlin, wherever the case may be, it usually falls on his shoulders. And if it's a new coach, I'll generally bring him in first to kind of give him the vision and feel him out. But when you first started hiring, to say myself is different just because I kind of that unorthodox way of coming in. It wasn't like a true interview process, but say any staff you brought in the last couple of years, what does your interview process kind of look like? Have you gone super traditional and standard, like say you always have the same docket of questions you go through, or do you always just kind of go in with a different feel or try to find if it's a right fit, or what's that process look like for you?
Yeah, so our interview process by no means is it standard or have a general flow. I don't like to, we're not corporate. We're a small town vibe business on all aspects. Any of the businesses we operate are very personal, good people, So when we do our interviews, we don't really tell the individual what the interview is going to be like. We just say, hey, come on down at noon or whatever. We'll have a conversation. And depending on the person and the age, for our gym staff, sometimes we're hiring high school kids to help out with the gym, and sometimes we're hiring retired or, we hire all ages. So depending on the individual, they show up and they don't really know what to expect. They dress good. They depending on age, maybe they're a little bit nervous or whatever. I'm probably the most relaxed, interviewee. We keep it super simple. Like, tell us about you. Are you in school? Did you play sports? What job? What are you currently doing, or what have you done in the past, or whatever, right? We're just getting to know the individual. And that's really the main thing that we do in our interview processes. We just want to get to know you and kind of have a gut feeling on, are you a good fit and are you a good person? Do we trust you? Do we believe in you? Like, do we get that first impression right off the bat? Do we feel like you're motivated to work here? Do we feel like you're here just for the money aspect, or do we feel like you want to be here and grow with the team? So really, we're just having a conversation and getting to know the person, just like if you're to go out for like a coffee date type thing, and just figure out what our gut is saying. Do we think this person would sit at the front desk and be perfect? Do we think this person could be a good fitness equipment technician or whatever the job is we're hiring for, a fitness coach? So that's basically our interview process, right? You sat in on a couple of them recently. There's not much of a outline. Hey, what's your name? This is my name. Tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, why you're here, why you want to work here. What's your experience in this field, if any, So, but now I'll what you were saying is Gavino, our gym manager, is now kind of in charge of the general gym staff aspect. Gavino manages all of our general gym staff and those people that I don't get to see every day. So Gavino is the one that's got to text them all, connect with them. One of his goals is to have one meeting a week with one of the individuals that he manages, just to make sure there's a good personal connection there as well, which I believe he's doing a fantastic job of. He's doing a really good job of management, keeping staff happy and making sure everybody's on the same page and they're following along. But I've kind of now done a couple interviews with Gavino and showed him what I like to do. I've showed you, Chase, a couple of the things that I like to do in these interviews as well. So now we are to the point where you perform the first interview and Gavino performs the first interview, and Ellie also does some interviewing stuff as well if needed. And then once you guys get your first gut feeling, then we'll do a second kind of conversation, or I will meet with an individual as well once you guys kind of do that first meet, that first touch point or whatever, So I think that works good. I don't know what's your thoughts on you doing the interview and then me saying, hey, let me meet Duncan, for example, let me just double check. I feel like that's going to be kind of a thing we have to do anyways until, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years until Chase is just finding some really good people. So
Yeah, I'd say for context, about a year ago when we started, and then really up until this fall, it really was just me. So we didn't have other coaches outside of that. You weren't interviewing for coaches. You didn't have the scale of the program, or you didn't have as many clients to the point where you needed several coaches. So when we first started reaching out, looking for new coaches to cover Berlin, cover Watoma, travel between both, we did a lot of that together early on. And we were lucky enough, I think, to find really good people, really good coaches at the time. But we had probably 5 people reach out. Some people did come in for interviews, some people didn't. And given I've never had to administer an interview before, and all I knew was basically what I had to do for, like, say, corporate jobs or like finance jobs that you just had to do through college, through the recruiting programs, I always looked at it as like, okay, the first one's like presenting like, oh, this is the company. Now there's gonna be a second one where like I talk about myself more. And then there was like a third one where it's like, okay, now I actually have to come in and like, this is what we do, this is the system, this is the process. So that's all I really knew. And I didn't necessarily have like a vision or context. After having sat in with you on, say, a lot of the early ones and seeing that it's more of a, like you mentioned, getting a feel for them, pitching the long-term vision, seeing where their goals lie at. Again, like you said, like, are you trying to grow? Are you trying to be a part of the team, be something bigger than it? Because I know one of my first interviews I did alone, just because of scheduling of things, we couldn't do it together. Granted, it wasn't a right fit, but at the same time, I was just really trying to, like, again, pitch the system like they do from what I saw in interviews I had in the past. But since then, in a case like Duncan or Tren or Rachel that we have, it's been more of, like you said, just filling them out, having an open, honest conversation, no different than we do every day or on the pod, wherever the case may be. And it's worked really well where I'm looking at like your small mannerisms or the questions you ask, the overall atmosphere, like you said, it's really laid back. It's just a conversation. It's not promising anything or saying like, oh, well, we'll get back to you in a few days and hopefully see what happens. And we got to filter through candidates. Like, it's, if you're a good fit, and obviously we're looking, if we're reaching out to you, it's a lot more of a good flow. I can say, hey, like, based on this guy and based on what I said, like, this is our long-term goal of things. This is where we want you to grow to. And if you, like, if your eyes light up in the interview, kind of is how I always look at it, I can see you're gonna be a better fit versus saying, at this step, this is your compensation. Now this is compensation at 90 days. And then we have these reviews. Like, if someone gets that technical about it and starts asking questions right away about comp, like, if you're in it for the money right away,
yeah,
I don't think it's a good fit.
Yeah, that's one thing that really doesn't irritate me, but I have people who will reach out via Snapchat, text me, email, whatever. And the first question is, what does it pay? It's like, if you're trying to compare the pay here at Grizzly Fitness or Priority Fitness to work in construction or working in the union, it's probably not going to compare, right? Like, if you want to work small business and be a part of the growth and the team and have the feeling of I'm helping build something much larger than myself than just working we'll say a typical job, which is fine. I'm not dissing those people at all. I think that we need all types of people in the world. But if the first question you're going to ask somebody like a company like ours, what does it pay? It's like, you're probably not a great fit. Like, that's just not a good way to start off. It's probably not going to work. Now, if you listen to the podcast and you've understand exactly who we are and what we are, and you want a job tomorrow, and the last question you have is, what does it pay? Maybe that's a little bit different, but I mean, we're not hiring for, top level positions. Like, we're hiring for people to grow with us and be with us long term, or people who are just looking to help us out part time or whatever, right? But anyways, something else that we do in the interview process too is we like to talk about I talk about some of our core values and kind of the things that make us us. And when I bring those core values up, it's important to talk about them because we need to make sure the individual understands who we are. Like you're saying, the long-term vision and explaining who we are and what we do. We need to also talk about our core values because it's important that the individual knows what they're signing up for. One of the biggest core values that I always like to touch on right away and explain to people, especially in the interview process, is that we treat our team more like a family. Like, we do a lot of things together, or you can count on us outside of work, right? So you get a flat tire if you're, stuck on the side of the road for whatever reason, or you need to call us at 2 a.m. to help with this or that, or you've got a problem at the house or whatever's going on.
Doing a solid for one another, essentially.
Yeah, we build our team that we care about each other more than just what's happening inside work. Like when you get to our workplace, you're not putting on a fake face, right? One of our core values is like being authentic, like being who we are day in and day out. You know, if you're going to catch me at a Monday morning meeting or a Wednesday afternoon burger or a beer or whatever, like I'm going to be the same person both places. So that's one thing we like to be is authentic, but we also like to include the family aspect. If you're part of our team, we're taking this a step further. Like if you need something, connect with us, right? How many places do you know, the people listening, how many jobs have you had that they care about your own personal goals, right? Like that's just a little thing that we talk about all the time on this podcast, but it's true. I mean, like I genuinely care that you're becoming the best version of you, the 1% better. I see you working out. I see you reading. Like I want you to improve, whether you're going to be with us long term or for the next year or 20 years, whatever it is. Like I want to see you develop into the person you're meant to be. So I think that's important too, and that speaks volume about our company because the support is there, the family aspect, the team aspect is there. You're getting the true people. I'm sure there's people in this listening to this that you go to work and, you know, you got to pretend to like so-and-so, or you got to put on a fake face, or maybe you got to wear the suit, which I'm not saying don't dress good, but like, you know what I'm saying? Some of those corporate jobs, you have to forget who you are at home and be that job. And it's like, we like to bring it all together. We like to do stuff with each other. We like to hang out. We like to have good times. We like to have honest conversations. We're open with each other. Most of us know each other's family and that kind of stuff, right? So there's much more of a deeper connection when you work here. And I feel like that's one of the biggest things that I like to talk about in our interviewing process to let them know is that support is there. Now, you don't have to work with us and open up and be extremely deep with us like if you don't want to, but we do have that support aspect, that family aspect, the team aspect, and all that kind of stuff. So with that being said, though, I'd like to talk a little bit more about some of our core values, or if you'd like to ask any questions, or if you'd like to, you being Chase, if you'd like to throw anything else out there, or maybe throw out some of your favorite core values that we've got, and we can kind of expand on some of those.
You've hit on it. I mean, it's almost what the podcast is built on. It's what our quarterly meetings are built on, our personal rocks and things. Like you said, the self-growth. And with that self-growth, that you're being conscientious and you're very future-focused. So it's not just a case of, I got to get into work. I got to I just got to check all my boxes, make sure I did the things I need to. But like, how are you improving at your job, or how are you improving on our core values? Like, you could look at, say, the future focus aspect and say, okay, am I regularly checking up on my goals? Am I being proactive about getting my steps in so that way I actually hit my goal? It's not just like they're words on a paper and they're kind of fugazi and mean nothing. At the end of the day, like you said, it's kind of a reflection, like your personal side. If you're not taking care of your personal side, it's hard to take care of your work side. So it's not like you have a work calendar and then a personal calendar. Like you only have, obviously, the time you have, and you don't have two different lives. Like they all just kind of bleed together into one. So for that reason, it's the same thing development wise in my eyes. Like if you're not trying to develop yourself personally or professionally or vice versa, whatever the case might be, how are you supposed to take yourself and say, hey, I'm going to elevate myself at work. I'm going to be really good at work, but I'm just not going to focus on myself and try to improve physically or educate myself. So the idea that we are that growth oriented and future focused and put more value on, again, what's happening in a year from now or 3 years from now versus just how do we make the margins as high and the revenue as high as possible now. I think that's the thing I hang my hat on and rest of my laurels the most with.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, I touched on it on my last little spiel there, but that is another one of our core values. And so what we want to do is we want to try to get our core values out there a little bit more. We want people to understand what we believe in and why we believe in it and what kind of team we are. But the self-growth aspect, the growth-oriented aspect, the family and authentic aspect, these are all some of our core values. So what I'm going to do,
just going to pull them up right away and go through, or do you want to go just highlight a few?
I'm going to read off our core values real quick, and then we're only going to touch base on a couple of them on this episode because I feel like a lot of we could pull any one of these and again have a good 20-30 minutes conversation. So I'm going to overview all, I believe we've got 8. I'm going to highlight all of these, and some of these we've already talked about, but maybe we'll touch base on one more of these, and then we'll kind of work on wrapping up today's episode, just talking about our core values and our hiring process. But number 1 is future-focused and growth-oriented, which is kind of what we just talked about. We care about the individual. We want to see self-growth. We want to see you growing with the company, all that kind of stuff. Number 2 is step up and help first. Number 3, authentic and transparent, which we touched base on. Number 4 is respect and accountability. I feel like that's pretty straightforward. We can come back to it. Number 5, always learning and always improving. There's a typo in there. Always.
Oh, man.
Number 6, family spirit and team mentality. So that's kind of what we talked about as well. Number 7 is work hard, play hard. And number 8 is positive mindset and gratitude. So I feel like a lot of our episodes, once you kind of understand our core values, you'll understand why our episodes kind of flow the way they do, or a lot of things we talk about, they actually kind of fall within these core values. Even if we're not trying to make them fall in these core values, we've built our company first, and then we went back and figured out what our core values are, right? We figured out who we are, what we believe in, how we go about life, and then we kind of took a step back and said, let's make our core values off of what we're already doing, right? And so that's a great way to go about it. You don't have to think about, if I were to start a company tomorrow, what would my core values be? It's like, just figure out, just do first, and then take a step back and be like, this is who I am. This is who we are, right? So
the people you gravitate towards hiring, ultimately it's a reflection of, say, your managers or the people at top, and you almost find people that mesh well with that and can, again, continue to transcend that down the ladder, if you will. But it's, again, kind of, it also reflects like our little mantras that we say here on the show. Like the 1% better goes back to the continuous growth and growth oriented, always learning. And then say the idea that it could always be worse. Going back on the 8th one there, the positive mindset and gratitude. Again, that it could always be like, well, at least I only have to move 10 pieces a day and not 15 pieces, right. Or it's going to be a great day today. Like the small things can't affect me because this one good thing made me feel really good at the start of the day and the end of the day. So I think all, like you mentioned, the core values really get amplified on the show side of things, just given that you almost live by them, like just because they are your core values.
That's exactly right. And that's exactly what I'm trying to say is we don't even really notice, like we created this document of our core values, but everything that we do at this point just falls under these core values because that's who we are through and through, right? So the positive mindset and gratitude, I feel like is very important. We're working on this, own up to your shit, like take responsibility, but also be grateful for the opportunities that you're given, be grateful for the things that you get to do every day. There's people who aren't in your shoes and can't do what you can do. So, talking about gratitude, but also the positive mindset aspect on our PF sides of things. Our PF and our Grizzly sides of things, it's easy to look at the negatives. It's easy to say, my day sucked because of this one thing that took 30 seconds of my day, right? This one decision that I made, or this one phone call I got, this one text. It's easy to ruin your entire day because we dwell on the bad and the good stuff just wears off quick. So we need to do our best to focus on the good and it could always be worse. For example, 2 days ago, heading down to Milwaukee, got a flat tire on the trailer. Was I upset, right off the bat? Yes, I wasn't happy that I got a flat tire. But within 5-10 minutes, I'm laughing. I'm back. I'm stuck on the interstate, 5 feet away from semis, just going 80 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour. But we called around. Of course, we didn't have a jack on us, so we couldn't swap the tire ourselves, which is unlike us, but it is what it is. But within 10 minutes, I'm laughing about it, and hey, it could always be worse, right? Like, so we got to keep a smile on our face. Got to have a good attitude about it. So that's kind of the positive mindset and gratitude, aspect. I'd also like to touch base on we can talk about the stepping up and helping first and kind of how that relates within our company as well. And we'll kind of wrap up there. The reason we have step up and help first on our core values, and so these core values we created for Grizzly, but I think they go hand in hand with priority as well. We haven't really established that, but I mean, the same people working within both companies, so I think they're pretty straightforward. But stepping up and helping first, the reason we wrote that one down is because we are the type of company where if you were to call one of us because you need a hand or you need help or on a project related to work or outside of work, it doesn't really matter, is that our attitude is to say, okay, no problem, I'll help you out. Let me work on this for you, or let me connect you with the person you need to be connected with, or whatever. So that's one of those things where it's our core value. I think we do a very good job of it. Now, every now and then there are times where it's like we have the attitude of, I got my own stuff to do, leave me alone. I think that's natural, but I think it's a good thing to have as one of our core values because we constantly bring it up. We constantly talk about it, and we just kind of keep it at the forefront. So you have anything you want to add on the stepping up and helping first aspect?
I think it's, like you said, being able to almost be malleable. Like, I'll use a Grizzly example more than, say, a PF example, but in Gavino's side of things, obviously he does a lot of ordering, just making sure everything's stocked, covered, making sure basically all the dailies got done by either general staff or ourselves. And one of the things, obviously, with having 5 locations, like you can't hit all 5 locations. Obviously, Ellie does some managerial work at Princeton. Sophie does at Amro. But at the end of the day, Gavino still has to do a bunch of inventory, overstock, backstock. And I'll be the first to admit sometimes I screw it up. And he's always like, yeah, the only thing I missed was what you didn't track down. I was like, yep, that one's on me. But there is days where he has to be in a meeting elsewhere. Or he has to be in Amro for a day, or he has to run to Rosendale. And those are the days that, again, I can step in, I can do inventory. It's not like a primary thing I do, but I can take the half hour out to, again, get that squared away. So that makes his side of things easier. And then it just reciprocates. Like when someone has PT questions, and obviously I can't be everywhere all at once, everyone can take that in for me. I can reach out later in the day when I have the chance to. So I think it just, to reassure yourself, like what goes around comes around. Like no one's just going to forget, like, oh, Chase just does inventory. And I just kind of expect it at this point. Like, you get what you give, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I think we're going to kind of wrap up here. We appreciate you guys tuning in to episode 14 of many. We will touch more on our core values throughout, future episodes and stuff like that. Today's another practice episode for us. If you'd like to catch me on any socials, my Snapchat is colton.burt, COLTON, BURT. Instagram and Facebook are coltonburt19. Our email is marketing@fitnessgrizzly.com. I'll let Chase throw out his socials, but otherwise, we will see you guys next time.
If you're looking for me on Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, anything across those lines, be sure to check me out at Chase Mastricola, ChaseMastricola, to get the behind the scenes at the gym, on the podcast, and everything related. If you're enjoying the podcast, be sure to share it out across your socials as well. Give us a rating, review, give us your feedback so that way we get a better idea of how you're feeling. But otherwise, like Colton mentioned, go out, kill the rest of the week, and we'll see you guys Thursday.